Hey, good afternoon, guys. This is Dan here. So today, Genesis format, which I've been a really huge fan of, got another very big update. So for some context on how I've been playing the game, I've been playing a lot on Master Duel and Omega when I have the time to. And the Master Duel, like you have to kind of like talk to a community about it. So my experience has been a little limited, but I'm aware of some of the stuff that's been going down in it and watching coverage. It's been really enjoyable. I went to my first locals for it the other day. It was literally yesterday, before this was released, and I got my butt cooked by a Vanquish Soul deck using Fallen and the Virtuous as a board breaker with Albaz to grab the Dragon that Devours Dogma. Anyways, yeah, I finally went to locals, and it was really cool seeing we had a really wide variety of decks. I showed up with White Forest, there was Genesys, there was Genesys Voiceless Voice. We saw Vanquish Soul playing this new engine. There was a Madolche player. There was Ice Barrier. And what else was there? I know I was talking about this earlier. Yeah, it was just a really interesting suite of decks that showed up. Oh, right. And Crystal Beast. Someone was on Crystal Beast. It was so cool, right? So anyways, what am I expecting from this list before I even lock in and talk about stuff? So I know earlier on the website they mentioned things that they were planning on hitting, so I expect to see some hits to like generic draw powers. I expect to see some hit to top decks or decks that are performing in I don't want to keep saying TC. I have to say advanced now. Decks that are performing well in advanced, that they don't really want to be seen as in both. Obviously they mentioned that the new branded stuff would be hit a little bit, which makes sense. Branded is a very weird case in Genesis, and I think we're going to be talking about it a little bit more as we go on this video. But first off, right here, the first thing they talked about is there's going to be a bunch of FTK enablers gone, right? So first off, we got Reversal Quiz and Question. These are just weird FTK box out certain scenario cards. Dynamite, Banquet of Millions, Black Garden, Asilipiscu, Rip My Queen. We're all gonna have basically. Oh, and then Diabelle's Diabolic Dragons, Blackwing Assault, Bramble Rose, Red as Fire Metal. All of these are basically FTK hits. Gust Kraken to 100. I was a Gishki enjoyer way back in the day. But yeah, without Gust Kraken, it's very. I don't know the new support. Maybe they can still do something, but I don't really know how the modern Gishki works, to be honest. But basically, with Heraldry Crest and Ouroboros, it's just hand ripping for 3. So you can basically copy the number with Heraldry Crest, I believe. Yeah, so basically this entire section here is boxing out FTKs and non-games, and I 100% agree with that. I think it's kind of fun how they price them at 51 instead of 1 at 100. So like, if you really wanted to play it, you could. Like Blackguard and Asilipiscu with the Earthbound cards is an FTK. Like basically what you do is you set your opponent's life point to 3,000. You go with Asilipiscu. You pop 5 cards. You deal 3,200, and they're dead. Bell's Diabolic Dragon. I got hit with this on stream using Bell's Diabolic Dragon, giving your opponent bells, and then making either Red Eyes Flare Metal, because Bell's this thing activates whenever you take damage. It's a mandatory effect. And if you have no response, basically the way it works is when you resolve an effect, you take damage. Bell says whenever you take damage against that much attack, that triggers the opponent's Blackwinged Assault or Red Eyes Flare Metal, and you're dead. These are cards they thought would be more popular, but they wanted to decrease the cost to see if it changes anything. Some of these I'm okay if some of these don't see play, to be completely honest. So you've got Metamorphosis went from 10 to 5, Premat to 7 from 25. This is one of the scariest changes in my opinion. We'll see how it goes. Monster Reborn to 10 from 15 to 10. Monster Reborn is a good card. I know some people have been saying it can be at 0. But I don't know. As a Synchron player, Monster Reborn in my mind I will look at this card and go, oh, this is a universal extender. So I don't know how I would feel about it if it was free, but I'm definitely not incentivized to play it right now. Mirage of Nightmare went from 10 to 3. This is interesting. I think of that Radiant Typhoon deck that was playing this, and Runic and Fiendsmith. Yeah, see Mirage of Nightmare go to 0, Metamorphosis go to 5. I wonder if Runic is kind of back in this way. We shall see. Card of Safe Return 40 to 33. Card of Safe Return I feel is a very scary card. I don't really know what deck is unpointed and can cheat summons from the grave. I did think about this in White Forest briefly, Just way basically it turns any like Sylvie and etc. into draw 2. If you have Sylvie and Rusa, you just draw 2 every single turn, even on the opponent's turn. Heavy Storm 20 to 10, Feather Duster to 15, so 40. I kind of like this. I think they clearly want this to be a board breaker format. So I imagine they're going to tax other hand traps and that have been picking up. So we have, then they decrease the Dominus cards, they decrease Nib, they decrease Ghost Mourner. Okay, Ghost Mourner it's weird seeing Ghost Mourner at 3 when it's like, isn't Ghost Mourner just like not better Veiler, but it only works on special summon monsters, but you can use it during any time your opponent's not just the main phase. So Ghost Ogre went to 3. That will definitely pick up and see budget play, in my opinion. Starvis went to 3. Barone to 80. I'm gonna be real. I'm a Synchron enjoyer. I'm gonna keep it real. I think Barone can stay expensive. If you're spending a lot of points, it's not like turn skip powerful. But it's a card that I'd like to see disincentivized to see play. Only reason it's not seeing play in TCG right now is it's banned, you know? Okay, and then here are some other generic hits. Upstart, Brow, Pot of Extrav, all increased value. Trap Trick went to 3 points. That way, I mean, you can only play one last turn anyways, but this is another like kind of like nudge to Labyrinth of like, hey, don't get too good, you know? This is really a thing for Labyrinth and Dynamorphia. If you know, there's from what I understand, there was a competitive player who was really pushing the boundaries of what you could do with Genesys, and while I don't really care for like trolling events or being the problem on purpose, I am thankful for people like that who are going to stress test. In my mind, that's someone stress testing the format. They are showing up to locals, even if it's to cause problems with judging stuff on purpose. Like, hey, that person went to events. That person is stress testing the format as far as I'm concerned. So, salute to them, I guess. Impulse and Airlifter got hit. I literally picked up my playset. If you don't know, Rescue Aces Impulse went to like $5 this since this game mode has been released as format. People were splashing as an engine in decks that were using hand traps a lot, basically as a way to dig you deeper into hand traps. My Resonator RDA list was doing this. All that deck needed to do was spend 10 points on the spotter so you could max out interaction. So for example, Nibiru, Ash Blossom, DD Crow, just using your combos are so consistent. Dragon's Mind went to 7. So this is interesting. Dragon's Mind, Solemn Solding, Iron Thunder, all of the Solemn Judgment adjacent cards have been slightly touched, right? That's not a bad thing at all, in my opinion. Let's take a look from here. Get this back up. Yeah, Dragon's Mind. I was playing one copy of Dragon's Mind as recyclable Solemn, essentially. So yeah. Super Poly went 10 to 13. I know that Entis is points, but Garura is free. Super Poly is still very scared for decks that can play it. Goblin Biker Grand Breakout. That went to 7. I think this is for Memento. Speedroid Terratop. This is a Speedroid Terratop is both a hit to Goblin, Memento, and to Punk, I think. Nash 9 to 10. Lars to 20. Okay, generic extract negates they are coming for. Lars isn't just a dinosaur card. Anyone that can make 2/6s can play an Omni, essentially. So I think that is a fair hit. This is the stop playing Mitsurugi section. This is so funny. Habakiri right to 100, right to the moon. Get out of here, D-Mats. I don't care. I don't care that you finally bought the cards in Master Duel. I don't care that you've been having so much fun with them in Master Duel that you bought them on paper finally. Habakiri to 100. Habakiri to the moon. So yeah, I will probably not be finishing this deck. Who knows though? Who knows? Maybe we can build something funny with it. I think there might be a version of it depending on the other price adjustments. Mans you to 1, sends you to 1. This is to basically box it out with Habakiri, essentially. Because in theory, you could run something really stupid like if they weren't costed. In theory, you could run something really stupid like Mitsurugi Mirror is still free. So yeah, you have the 2 vertiles for it. I had like the fever dream thought of like, what if you played Primite Mitsu with Gagagigo? And I'm like, no, stop thinking. So Manju and Senju, the generic searchers, are now 1 point each to generic ritual attacks. Ritual and prayers, however, are now both 51, so you have more points. I'm assuming if you're playing it, you're going to be spending the points on Manju, and I'm pretty sure that you still can't play King of the Feral Imps. King of the Feral Imps is 33. Okay, so now, in theory, let's do some math here, right? If you've got King of the Feral Imps, you've got Ritual. Well, no, the thing is, you would search Habakiri, but now Habakiri is 100. So Habakiri going to 100 is, I'm gonna be real, it's justified. I would prefer, I mean, because I haven't really played the deck much. I'm curious about a world where Habakiri, Ritual, and Prayers are all 50 each. So you get to play one of each. That way, if they interrupt your Habakiri, like, it does matter. I know it's once per duel anyways, but maybe just having all three names is too powerful. But regardless, this is the world we live in. They said stop playing Mitsu. But okay, Ritual, Prayers 51. Give the deck a few more points, so don't get rid of Habakiri. This is a cool section down here. Dragonar. So basically, this is about cards that are cheating out cards from the extra deck, right? So, similar to remember how Crimson Dragon was 100, and then the targets that like were really messed up for it were 1 point each. That caused a situation where if you could naturally make those monsters, they were kind of a problem. A big one that we're going to get to is Generator. Generator had no points on it whatsoever. And True King of All Calamities, aka VFD, aka the Very Fun Dragon, is a turn skip. It's a rank 9 that just basically just says lose a turn. So that has been boxed. They want to make it so you can still play the cards that cheat stuff out, but doesn't use all of your points, essentially. You can still cheat out other cards, because again, as a Synchron enjoyer, I was very disincentivized not to play Crimson Dragon in my list, because it was 100 points. I'm like, oh, well, I just can't. It's basically, for most of the cards that are 100, you're basically saying it's banned, as far as I'm concerned. Very few cards are worth that power level of all 100 points, right? And you got to be really desperate to want to use those cards, right? Some of them might be okay if they're worth the effort and so on, but other ones I think I'd prefer if they were just like, I'm not gonna play with you anymore, you know? So to make those cards a bit more appealing, like Draglubion that cheats something out, and Crimson Dragon that cheats something out, they made Draglubion 80, and then they changed the targets to 21, so you can't play them both together. Somewhere MBT is popping off. It gets to say funny number. Crimson Dragon is 80. Same thing. Cosmic Blazar went to 21. Stardust Cypher went to 21. King Calamity went to 21. So these are the really nasty cards Crimson Dragon has been cheating out. If you know anything, Blazar is good in Centurion. Blazar is just really disgusting if you go first. It's a summon negate. Stardust Cypher is for Blue Eyes, and then King Calamity is Resonator. You could actually just play, because Resonator had like nothing costed, you were able to just play King Calamity for 1, and you could actually use it to lock your opponent during your turn. But yeah. All right, so some Floodgate adjacent cards. Grisaille Prison. This showed up in a Mitsurugi list as like a turn skip type card. I think it says, while you control a tribute or ritual summoned monster, you can activate this. Your opponent cannot synchro or Z summon until the end of your next turn. Another Floodgate they got rid of. Flying Sea, Retaliating Sea. These are no longer free, which I like. These are more about side deck cards or matchup cards, turn skip type cards. Having a little bit of tax on these is fine. Invoke Kaliga going to 100 is very interesting. I don't really know what Kaliga was doing. All six barrier statues also went up, so they're not as free to play. You can't play them all together. You can't play a critical mass them regardless, but still, this is just a box out things like that. Here are the metagame hits as far as I'm concerned. I do like how this was broken up. Like we have the FTKs, stop that. Cards we want people to experiment or we thought we'd see more of. These are a handful of like generic deep draw generics, right? We are heard you about Mitsurugi. This is about cards shooting out of the extra. These are like Floodgate type cards or side deck type cards. And this is the metagame stuff as far as I'm concerned. Holy Soup, Xiaolong, Raisin, lots of hits to vanquish overall. They're like, this deck is doing, had it stay in the sun. Holy Soup was crazy. In theory, looks like we'd still play it. Everyone realized Exosister was free, so people were dooming about it, so they hit it a little bit. Dynamorphia, and Right, Dynamorphia and World Legacy cards all get like 1 point tax. This basically box out interactions with Last Turn in Dynamorphia and VFD or True King of All Calamities in Generator. All right, Treasures of the Kings, and that's kind of it. I'm going to make a note about this. Odeon got away with it. He got away, which is curious to me. Power Patient getting a few hits, sure. Total War getting hits. Hot RDA Abyss 20 points. And to be fair, this card's crazy good. It's a soft once per turn. Basically negates something on the field. It's very, very strong. Totem Bird and Cicada King, I have been informed, are hits to Radiant Typhoon and just generic extra deck options. I know during our Genesys showcase with Kitsune, she was running this in their Punk deck. So it's also a wind, something Takatomborg, and so on. They really just said stop playing Canine. Cool. Ether Blathnir, the hand rip in Generator is also being taxed a reasonable amount. Okay, so they're valuing the extra deck hand rips at 13, it seems. Trishula and Ether Blathnir. All right. Foxy Tune is fine. I think we talked about it. Oh, we're going to get to it in a moment. Megalith and Anastasis. So they're getting ahead of the curve when it comes to people experimenting with rituals. This is really interesting to me. Branded was essentially completely reworked. Basically, every Ecclesia and Ecclesia adjacent card was 3, and there were a lot of really important branded cards that were at 33, so you could not play them in critical mass together. With the new card, the Fallen and the Virtuous, basically being a free Soul Taker or Tribute to the Doomed, quick play, pop, and then you also get the buyback of the branded fusion at end of turn, was kind of crazy. It's no longer free. This is now 15 points. They've also reached the points for branded, where Albion, Titaniclad, Sprin, Grand Guignol, well, not, let's not talk about Grand Guignol because it doesn't have to list Alvaz, but Albion, Titaniclad, Sprin, Brigrand, and then Dragon Devour's Dogma are all, basically all of the send targets for Fallen and the Virtuous. I don't think Albaletnus has points, but Albaletnus is kind of meh anyways. But the coolest thing you can do with it in this format is I think you send it and then you search Dimension Fusion, which is kind of funny. But regardless, basically they've all been taxed at 10 points apiece. That being said, Lewis Bellion and Mirror Jade have also gone down to 10. Technically 2 other targets are Fallen and the Virtuous, but these are the ones that you want to make. These are the ones you don't just benefit from sending. These are the ones that keep your like resource loop going. You probably only played 1 Lou Bellion anyways, but still. You will notice that Sanctifier has not had its price decreased, and also Branded Fusion went to 40. That's pretty costly. You're going to have to really make a decision. Branded is just a puzzle right now of like, you have to really pick what pieces matter and whatnot. I do enjoy a bit of branded gaming. They look like a very difficult puzzle to solve right now in Genesys format, in my opinion. Mercurier also their personal hand trap got taxed, which is like, that seems a little weird. It's one of the reasons to play the deck is they have their in-house hand trap, right? If that one I'm not sure if I agree with, but time will tell. Masquerade going to 16. I'm assuming this is also to box out. It's a very particular number. I'm assuming this is also to box out certain cards, like maybe you get 1 less Ecclesia with it being at 16. Unsure. These are some generics and some unhits. So generics such as Rhoda, Italy, Tinky, Fossil Dig all got a couple points reduced. Nightmare Apprentice, Tenny Spirit, Hidden City, Union Hanger, Shore, Sword Soul Emergence. I don't really want to see Sword Soul. I don't really care. I don't know. I don't find Sword Soul very interesting. It's just the Dark Charizard of the Yu-Gi-Oh, in my opinion. Gladiator Beast can also get a rework. Tamer Editor, the really mission critical card for them, has gone up in price. But other cards have gone down. Gazaris having points was alien to me. I don't know enough about Gladiator Beast, but I fought them before, and then they go into a new guy that says Claudius. It says, take your battle phase twice, and then they summon a bunch of soft once per turn negates via Tamer Editor. I'm not sure how the loop goes, but I feel like if you're able to pop Tamer Editor somehow, then you have more of a game plan. Ninjas, their fusions went to 5 each. They're basically links because they don't use poly and they just send to grave. But Ninja is a strong deck, but I think 20 was a bit egregious, both of them. I expect Ninja to really pop off a little. Oh, not really pop off. I expect to see it again. Sprite Starter goes to 10. They're giving Sprite a lifeline. This is very, very interesting to me. U-Bell has also been reworked. Phantom of U-Bell, the messed up fusion that recycles your U-Bells and negates on resolution. This one has gone up to 76. But Nightmare Throne, the U-Bell starter field spell, has gone down to 25. Someone at my local is actually a very, very big U-Bell enjoyer. I find this deck very frustrating to fight, but like I don't hate it. We're not gonna have the other, what are they called? We're not gonna have the Unchained links to make it really, really crazy. And I think I'm not sure if Dark Beckoning Beast or if the Spirit Gates have any hits, but well, looking at this alone, right? Gravesquirmer is now free, right? So it seems that you can choose between essentially playing one of the fusion or 3 of the field spell. Now, the field spell is a very strong starter. It basically says whenever one of your U-Bells is popped, you get another U-Bell on top of it. That is like one higher, I believe, right? It basically just like gives you more material to work with, which doesn't feel as strong in a world without the links. I feel like Phantom of U-Bell negated res and shuffles things back. If you're able to shuffle Phantom U-Bell back, it feels stronger, but Nightmare Throne is much more consistent. And with Gravesquirmer being free, they're basically saying, okay, well, you can kind of sort of play U-Bell. I'm not sure what the future holds for U-Bell. I genuinely wonder if there is like a world where obviously heroes are gutted because they don't have the links anymore. But I wonder if there's a world where you parallel world fusion just to recycle your U-Bell cards now. I know that obviously you don't have Infernal Devicer, but I wonder if that's an option for this deck now, which would be interesting if the best version of Hero is... I think it'd be very funny if the best version of Hero and U-Bell was each other. I think that'd be pretty funny. Then Raid Raptor is free. The rank up magics are 1. Rising Revengeance Falcon is a very, very scary card, but you need to rank up into it, and it's a lot of extra deck space. And also you don't have Wise Tricks, the link to get you into everything, so maybe they were a little afraid of that, but regardless. And then that's the end of the hits. So to go over my quick thoughts about this, essentially, several FTKs are priced out, including Blackwing Assault, Asilapiscu, Blackguard, Dynamite, Gishki, and Last Turn. Awesome. I'm a big 5D stan, and I think that Asilapiscu is a cool card, but yeah, Blackguard and that is an FTK with your bounce support. Oh well. Rescue Ace is now, the package is now 20 overall. Very funny. It's now something that you have to consider it if you're playing other hand traps. You have to make an active choice, you know. Backer removal and mid-point decrease, I think they do want this to be more of a board breaker format. And I like that. I like that because I feel like you were very not incentivized to play things. You were very incentivized to play more engine. And I like that. I want this to be more of an engine-centric and board breaker format. Very much what the read was at my locals and things that I've seen. Right? That's cool. Upstart extra have taxed, awesome. Generic draw stuff, just make it a little bit cheaper so it's not as free, right? Brand is completely reworked, very interested. I don't have enough free time to really like solve and dive into that puzzle right now, but I think it'd be very, very cool. We'll have to see how time goes. Rip Mitsurugi, Rip Habakiri. I totally understand why it was hit. I do think Mitsurugi is an incredibly cool deck when you don't have it alongside Link monsters. It's just tons of interaction. I find a lot of ritual strategies to be very cool. And it's like a reptile, and it's ritual, and it's like good. I think it's such a cool deck, Mitsurugi, the way it plays and so on. However, I understand that Habakiri it's like Junk Speeder. It's Habakiri into imagination a lot of the time. I think they were playing prayers over ritual, but we'll have to see. In theory, you can play mirror. Again, if you play pre-prep, you're also playing mirror. Pre-prep was not taxed, but we'll have to see. I know Grizel President was also a subtle hit to Mitsurugi as well. Extra cheater and turn skips repointed. That way, the cheaters could actually... Cards that cheat out other monsters are now cheaper, so you're incentivized to play them, but also the turn skip ones are priced out, so you can't play them alongside them. I think that's great. I don't really like the cheapening of Dominus or Nib, because I don't want this to feel like not TG, advanced, right? These are cards that do live in the side deck, and to be fair, there are a lot of cards that are like very cheap, but I have seen quite a bit, despite being those cards. The main one being Droll. I do think that Droll is not as unhealthy of a card in this format as it is in Advanced. My mindset has always been Droll is the canary in the coal mine. If Droll is worth maining, something has gone wrong with your format. But Droll does exist to also box out FTK turn skip. I don't want to play the game type decks. Obviously, the points did a pretty good job about it here, which makes Droll not as important to have around. But that being said, I still like it quite a lot. I'm one of my versions of my deck. One of my white forest lists is maining 3 of it, or had it in the side, but then I decided kind of last minute to main it. I did not regret that decision. I will say that. I think one of the biggest winners here is ninjas in terms of like decks that are given a new lease on life with their points. It's really, really cool that the fusions went down to 5 because ninjas do have a lot of plays interaction. I have a buddy who plays them, but he also plays Madolce, which was unhit, and actually I think got a buff with the Dominus cards being. I think they got a buff with one of the Dominus cards. Could be wrong on the things. Gladiator taxes get a little bit lighter. The cost of are going to 33. I do think it's concerning that Premature Burial is now cheaper than Reborn. I feel like there's going to be some things, because I think Premask go to the grave for the monster go to the grave. So a lot of things will exist where you can bounce it. It's more searchable, i.e. if you're playing I think like Power Tool Dragon might suddenly have stocks this format. Obviously Isold isn't here, but there are a lot of like crazy equip decks that could definitely find a home in. Other things I noticed, Fire King and D Shifter untouched. Curious. A lot of the macro cards were untouched, so I'm unsure how that's gonna go. I feel like there's a bit more of an incentive to play them now. Also, with the cheapening of the Dominus cards and Odeon getting a slap on the wrist of 5 points apiece for the one card, right? But you just made the Dominus cards cheaper. And that deck just won a regional recently in advance. And it could also play Shifter. So I'm very, very shocked to see Odeon get away with so little, or Tombkeeper. Odeon, a trap monster deck, get away with like barely anything. That's one of the strangest things about this to me. Fire King not being hit, Dinosaur getting a slight buff is cool. Interesting that we didn't really see I thought it'd be funny if like Drac Meteor or Drac Astro went up to 5, but like I guess if you hit extra, I don't know. It's interesting to see that like, Fire King didn't get anything additionally hit. I think that was one of like the best decks in the format as well. Punk also got a slight slap on the wrist with where is it, Foxy Tune, but it's okay because you got those 5 points back in E-Telly. And obviously a rank 3 was hit as well, but Punk Gold Pride is that could also just got away with a lot in this power level. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think a lot of the best decks in the room, Vanquish Soul Canine, those things, we can't blame them together. They were still really strong. They were both hit. We boxed out a lot of really weird interactions. Mitsurugi was hit. They did not want to see Mitsurugi doing very well, and they took action immediately. That I actually like. They took action immediately. I hope that we get even monthly lists would be really cool. I don't expect every list to be this big, but I am shocked at how big this first list was. Curious if the Akiza cards will get hit on the next list. Casual reminder to everyone in chat, if you're watching me, then you know that Dandelion is free. There was someone at my locals playing it with the Aramage support. It was very, very interesting. And then Diablantis is free, Dandelion is free. You make Dandelion, you make one of the tokens a tuner with Diablantis, you make a 9. It's pretty scary stuff. That being said, trying to see if I have any closing thoughts on this, but there was also, like I said, let me do one more run through to see if there's any other closing thoughts that I had on this. So extra points to almost every top deck except Fire King and Mimighoul. And yeah, Odeon got a slap on the wrist. But yeah, so we'll see how things go. I'm curious to see what the future of this format holds. What's good right now? I don't know. Probably similar decks to what was like in the B tier, or like a tier 1.5 before, whatever you want to call it. I think Odeon is definitely going to be one of the scarier decks. I think there's going to be a higher incentive to run shifter style decks now. A lot of the other decks were hit. I'm curious what the future holds for Generator and for Mitsurugi and the Glad Beast, to be honest. I expect a lot of people will try out Ninja. I bet we're still going to see a lot of Fire King, Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier now actually has a real attack to Trishul at 13. Ice Barrier was a deck like RDA where they just got away with it, right? Well, RDA didn't get away with it. RDA got taxed a lot, and part of me wonder if it was like just a popular deck because it's an anime deck, if that's why I had so much representation, or if it was really that powerful. Because I'm not that good at the deck yet. I'm just aware of it. Power Patron getting hit. That's the one that they wanted to do. That's like the new lore archetype. No, that's for White Forest, so I'm happy, even though some generics were hit, which I totally understand. Overall, I think this is a pretty good list. I think that the biggest thing that they said with this list more than anything is that, yes, we are paying attention. Yes, we are willing to make big changes. I really love this level of communication with the community and paying attention, feedback, results-based feedback. This is really, really cool. I'm not sure if we want certain cards to see as much play again, or because again, seeing the Dominus cards go down in price kind of makes me like, this is going to feel more like advanced, seeing these kinds of cards go down, but seeing heavy Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, okay, I'm okay with the more Breaker-esque format. But yeah, we'll see how things go. Things to keep an eye on, like I said, anything that plays Shifter. I don't think Ninja's going to be a top deck, but I think Fire King, Ice Barrier will still be popular picks. I think that you're also going to have, what else in there? I think people will still probably fool around with Vanquish Soul because it's really strong. They'll probably find another engine for Vanquish Soul, seeing how Holly Sue was hit. And another deck that's really on the rise is going to be Radiant Typhoon. I think that deck is going to be a very scary one. More variants of it will show up in the future. I can already see with the Metamorphosis cost going down, with then I'm getting in touch card a safe return. I can already, in my head, see runic variants of it. I'm curious to see where it goes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what the future holds for this format. So I guess we'll see what happens next. I don't know if you guys want to see like report deck profiles, reports on things that I've seen, but yeah, this is a very interesting format. I'm really curious to grow with it and see where it goes from here.